Microsoft has just released a clone of the classic text editor edit.com. You remember Edit from MS-DOS? I loved Edit. Edit was my favorite text editor for years and years and years. There's still several. There's VEdit, which is an open source kind of MS-DOS edit clone you can get on FreeDOS, and there's a couple others like it. I love it. I love it. They've just released a clone of it, which is great because, well, Windows needs Edit. I mean, the fact that I kind of didn't realize modern versions of Windows didn't have Edit anymore, because why wouldn't you have Edit? I don't know. It just seems silly to me that it doesn't have Edit. So this is great that they've cloned Edit. So this is Microsoft Edit version 1.0.0, which is funny because it's not version 1 of Edit. It's just a recreation of it. It's a brand new thing. Anyway, but they've just released it. What really caught my eye about this is, number one, they're bringing back at least some old DOS inspired tools, which is great. That's great. Windows users deserve that. I don't use Windows, but that's fantastic. Two, it's available. It's written in Rust. Of course it's written in Rust. In fact, the build instructions, number one, install Rust because of friggin' course. And then, but you can actually build and run this thing on, where is this at? I don't even see the link anymore for this. But you can run this on Linux as well. So you can get a copy of MS-DOS, Microsoft Edit, a clone of the classic MS-DOS editor with some modifications and updates, and you can run it on Linux too. I like that. I like that part of it. That part's a cool part. The whole written in Rust thing, I'm sorry. I'm just not a Rust fan. I know a lot of you out there are. I don't like the syntax of the language. I think it's overly convoluted. I think the language looks ugly. I don't see a lot of value to it. I dislike the foundation. The foundation literally attacks people for using the word Rust. You guys remember when they did that? Was that about a year and a half ago? They started going after anyone who used the word Rust. Like if you wanted to have a conference talking about Rust, you couldn't use the word Rust. So they started taking legal action against people. They're not great. And all the Rust evangelists don't help the cause either, because they almost always wear little cat ears and furry tails, and it's real off-putting. But there they go. They've got it out there. I do like bringing back retro-inspired software, though, so this is a real mixed bag. But you know what? If you want to make something in Rust, go for it. It's fine. I'm not going to stop you. I do find it interesting that so much, look at that handsome guy, that so much software that is a core part of operating systems, just like sudo and GNU core utils and whatnot, are being rewritten in Rust. And what's crazy to me about that is that they never rewrite those projects in Rust and use the same software license that was used previously, right? So like the GNU core utils, like chmod, ls, kill, all those sorts of things, those are all being rewritten, and future versions of like Ubuntu are going to ditch all the GNU project stuff entirely, which means getting rid of software written with the GPL license, or license under the GPL, and replacing it with stuff not under the GPL. I mean, it's obviously... to me, there's not a whole lot of benefit there from a practical standpoint, because the replacement utilities in those particular cases are almost always less well-tested, less feature-filled, and not a good drop-in replacements, not entirely anyway, for the GNU core utils that they're replacing. So we're seeing that happen a lot. And the Rust people are just pushing for it. I mean, the whole thing behind Rust is replace, right? Get in there and replace, right? So like there's the Microsoft, three-pronged triple E strategy of destroy something: embrace, extend, extinguish. The Rust community has kind of taken a similar approach to that. It's not exactly the same, but basically what they're doing is replace extinguish. Right? Their goal really is to drive out anything that's not like them. So if it's not Rust, get rid of it. And I think that when you really look at it objectively, there appears to be a cultural motivating factor behind that. Because is Rust like the end all be all of languages? No, I don't think any programmer that's used a large number of languages over the years would look at Rust and say that it needs to replace everything, right? If I'm going to sit down and be completely objective about Rust, well, I can see use cases for it. I can see use cases for C or C++ or Smalltalk or Fortran or Forth or a wide variety of different languages. And the same is true with Rust. I don't particularly love the way it handles certain things. I find it a little clunky, a little cumbersome, a little ugly. It's just not a lot of fun for me, so I would tend to not use it. But you know what? If people didn't make a big deal about like, oh, you have to rewrite everything in Rust, well, then I'd be fine with Rust. I would in fact occasionally recommend Rust for at least a few circumstances. But there are so many problems with Rust that and so many cultural issues around Rust, the Rust Foundation, the people promoting and actively encouraging people to use Rust, that it's very off-putting. It's incredibly, incredibly off-putting. And it's clear that there is a distinct goal to push people out who don't have the right political views, who aren't actively supportive of furry lifestyle, and wearing cat ears and speaking funny and things like that. And that does seem to be a very distinct core motivating factor for the rewriting of things in Rust. And it feels like this effort to recreate MS-DOS edit in Rust is kind of like that. I mean, Edit's been gone for years, right? I mean, apparently it's not shipping in Windows anymore. Apparently it hasn't for some time, and which I think is ridiculous. But it's still taking something that previously existed and writing something anew in Rust and then pushing it in place. And that seems to be a continuing pattern. And whenever I mention issues that crop up in Rust, the Rust people, they get furiously angry. I mean, furiously angry. Just case in point, back in January, there were issues with the Rust-developed desktop environment known as Cosmic. The Linux company System 76, who has been using Ubuntu on their computers that they ship for years and years, since they really started. They've started having their own desktop environment and own Linux distribution based on Ubuntu, right? They call it it's Cosmic, right? And they're pushing this new desktop environment that's written from scratch with the whole lot of Rust and Rust libraries and the like. And boy, have there been a lot of memory leaks. Right, just tons and tons of memory leaks, huge memory leaks, to the point where you do simple things with the project and it balloons out of control to sucking up all the available memory on your system. Like memory leaks so obscene, even with alpha or beta software, you wouldn't have seen something quite this crazy memory leak wise in a long time. I mean, it's really noteworthy. Like if Microsoft had shipped a piece of software, even alpha software, with this many memory leaks, they would have never lived it down. Everyone in the world would have talked about the memory leaks in that Microsoft product for 50 years, right? And considering people in the Rust world, they hammer on memory safety. And I know memory safety and memory leaks are not the same thing. However, the Rust Foundation and Rust documentation specifically call out as a feature the fact that it's very hard to have memory leaks in Rust. That's the whole point, is that they talk about it over and over again in the Rust documentation about how it's so much harder to have memory leaks in Rust. And they talk about it so much. Harder to have memory leaks. leaks, memory safety. It's a memory safe language over and over again, that when a piece of software comes out and it has massive memory leaks, massive, obscene, crazy memory leaks, that, well, it's funny. It's funny. I point it out and I laugh a little bit. And so I did this back in January 11th. I posted a little video entitled "Massive Memory Leaks in System 76's Cosmic Desktop, written in memory safe Rust." The developer of Hyperland even chimed in about it, and it was funny. It was funny, right? And yes, before all of you yell at me, because the Rust people love to screech like insane harpies whenever they think someone doesn't understand something, even though usually they're the one that are completely wrong. Yes, I understand. Memory safety and memory leaks are not the same thing. However, again, the Rust documentation specifically calls out that Rust makes it harder to have memory leaks. Go check it out. If you need a link, I can provide it for you. I know Rust people don't like to read documentation. And then within, hours, that video on X alone hit 130,000 views. It was just exploding all over the place, right? And the Rust evangelists were crazy enraged. They were incensed. They were spitting, frothing mad. They took to their podcasts and their little YouTube channels and their comment sections and their forums to scream about everything they could about how bad Lunduke is, and oh, he doesn't understand Rust. He doesn't get it. You don't understand. Oh, it's kind of hilarious, but they just freak out and they descend in droves, like the Zerg rush people who dare to criticize or just poke a little bit of good-natured fun at Rust. And it's kind of wild. And so since then, and really before then, I've been making fun of Rust because it's crazy. I mean, the amount of cultural objectives that the Rust people clearly by and large have. Now, I know some of you use Rust and are not involved in this. You're exempt. You can go over there and use whatever language you want. I don't care if you use Rust. I don't care if you use Fortran. I don't care if you use COBOL. Whatever you want to use, we're cool. But I'm talking really about the Rust evangelists. You know what I'm talking about, right? The people with the cat ears on and the weird socks, and sometimes they're a little confused about what gender they are, and they like to scream at people on the internet and scream obscenities at people on the internet if you talk something that's positive about a non-Rust language, and they really go crazy if you criticize Rust, right? And they're really pushing a political agenda, and it's obvious, right? You can watch it happen, and it's mildly hilarious to watch. And people have begun really noticing this, that I harp on them about this. And so folks are hopping on social media and forums and whatnot, Mastodon and X and everything else, and they like to kind of pretend to make fun of me. Well, they're trying to make fun of me for my anti-Rust stances. Here's one guy. I assume it's a guy. You never know in the Rust world if it's a guy or a girl or a trans female mouse cat person. You never know. Posted this, and this was really clearly kind of nudged at me. Rust was created 20 years ago by a group of gay, homo, transgender, non-programmer, Satan worshiper communists with the intent to destroy the purity of C and C++ and make woke left into programming and make every programmer transgender. Memory safety means mind control, sheeple. So he's making fun of Lunduke a little bit. It's fine. Another person chimed in, quote, Rust was invented to make software development gay. Brian Lunduke, probably. Okay, I never actually said that, but I saw that. I saw that quote. Rust was invented to make software development gay. Brian Lunduke, probably. And then I thought, you know what? Probably. So I had to share that with the world. I'm like, hey, everyone on X, they attribute this quote to me. You know what? Sure. Let me go ahead and read it again so we can just directly quote me here. Rust was invented to make software development gay. Why not? Why not? Anyway, it's wild. We're off on a tangent now. This all started because Microsoft was making a clone of Edit, which is a thing I like, by the way. Microsoft should do more of this. You know what? They need to bring back defrag. I want, I want a good disk defragmenter with nice ANSI artwork like we had back in MS-DOS. Let's bring that sucker back, man. Oh, you know what I want? And I'm telling you straight out, I want this. So we have modern, quick basic inspired languages and IDEs, right? Quick Basic 4.5 was an absolutely amazing tool, right? A great learning tool for getting people involved in programming, and it was really great for scripting up and writing real quick little mini DOS utilities. It was great for that. You could build native binaries in Quick Basic for DOS that actually had pretty decent performance, and it was easy to use. It was great. It was great. And we have QB45, which is an open source cross-platform Quick Basic compatible language and compiler and IDEs. We've got that. But I don't know if a lot of you have seen this, but the Visual Basic had a version for DOS. This is a real thing, and it is absolutely fantastic. It's weird, but it's great. So it was, they only made one release of it. I don't even think there was a bug fix release for it. It was Visual Basic for DOS 1.0. And go look it up. Go find it if you haven't experienced this before, because it is crazy. It is Visual Basic, right? It has a form designer where you can draw with your mouse in ANSI ASCII artwork, because this is all MS-DOS in the terminal, not in graphics mode. It's in text mode. Buttons and menus and checkboxes and scrolling lists and all sorts of stuff. And it has a full event-driven, Visual Basic, Quick Basic inspired development environment, and it produces native binaries with no outside crazy DLL whatever requirements that were easy to distribute. I would love something like that was cross-platform and available for like Linux, right? A Linux, Mac, Windows, BSD, etc. Totally cross-platform. And you know what? I don't care what language you write it in. Write it in Rust. Write it in BASIC. Write it in Bash script. I don't freaking care. Write it in pure assembly. Well, don't do that. Then it's just harder to port. Maybe just do it in C. I don't care. Use N curses. I really don't care. But I would love to see something like that for building visual terminal applications. That would be truly fantastic, because what we're seeing here with this like Microsoft Edit, it's a nice terminal application, a nice TUI, a text user interface terminal application that can use the mouse and have drop-down menus and use the mouse for selecting text and clicking OK buttons, but you can also all just use the keyboard instead of the mouse. It's fantastic, right? I love those sorts of utilities in the terminal. They're great for SSHing into your server and really using good TUI file managers and everything else. I love it. But if we could have a visual development environment, and I guess I really don't care that it's basic underneath it. It could be shells, it could be Bash, it could be C, it could be Rust, it could be JavaScript. I mean, I'm open here. But one with a good integrated development environment where you could design user interfaces and put buttons on windows that you can drag around, I would love that. I have yet to see anything like that written for a command line, written for a terminal or a shell, like Visual Basic for DOS, VB-DOS. It was amazing. So Microsoft, get on that. VB-DOS, write it in Rust. I don't care. Push your Rust agenda. I still want that. Okay. Thank you to the Lunduke Journal subscribers. Go to lunduke.com and click on some links. You can watch or listen to the show on podcast, RSS feeds, Fountain, iTunes, Substack, Spotify, X, Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, Patreon. You can even go to Itch and download DRM-free MP4s. It's absolutely fantastic. There's lots and lots of options. If you would like to be a whistleblower, if you work at a big tech company, you work on a major open source project, you work at a big or involved with a major tech or computer related open source foundation, and something weird is going on, something shady is going on, get a hold of me. Go to lunduke.com. There's a little link right there at the bottom that says become a tech whistleblower. Click it and it will run you through some of the basics of how to get a hold of me while remaining anonymous. However, if you're not worried about being anonymous, as far as you and me are concerned, you can also just reach out to me. My email's right there on lunduke.com. And of course, if you wish to not be outed as the whistleblower, if you wish to keep your identity a secret, make sure to let me know. Of course, if you don't let me know, I'll ask you to double check, because I take the confidentiality of whistleblowers incredibly seriously. And if you would like to support the work of the Lunduke Journal, monthly subscriptions, yearly subscriptions, lifetime subscriptions, one-time donations via whatever avenue you want to make a donation, links are up there at lunduke.com. You'll notice all the Lunduke Journal shows, they're never brought to you by Squareflugenplugin. There's nothing like that. No big tech company gives the Lunduke Journal money. No tech foundation has any influence over the Lunduke Journal. So when I want to talk about what Microsoft is doing, or what Adobe is doing, or what IBM is doing, I can. And there's nothing they can do about it. What are they going to do? Pull my funding? Only you can pull my funding. Or my finger. Thank you to everyone who supports the Lunduke Journal and keeps us rocking and keeps this happening. We could not do this without you. This is all you that makes this possible. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes, across the inner tubes, I do declare end broadcast.